Good evening, folks. Welcome to Let's Play Games West Virginia. I'm Kevin, and this is PokéMonday. So last week, I got so wrapped up in putting the show together and getting our great new logo that I actually forgot to thank the artist who produced it. So I want to start this episode off by correcting that. And I'm going to flip back to the previous screen a little bit, and I want to just so you can see the address at the bottom. So our new PokéMonday logo was done by an artist on Twitter named Wen. She's at PonPonWae, W-A-E, on Twitter, and she produced our image, and it looks fantastic. She also produced Katie and my logo on our main Twitch channels, and she's doing a lot of really good stuff for our channel. And so I'm going to flip back there really quick just so you can see that address. So a huge thank you to Wen for producing the awesome art for the channel, and I look forward to seeing everyone else's chibis by the time those get up and running. So welcome to PokéMonday. I'm Kevin. It has been another exciting week in Pokemon Go, and it is all the more exciting because at the end of this week, we get Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. So if you've been tuning into PokéMondays, or if this is your first episode, follow us again because we will be back on Friday for a special sort of one-off episode of Poke Friday. Doesn't quite work as well, but we'll be back on Friday for a first look at Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. So this past Tuesday was Election Day, and everyone was pretty excited about that, but it was also X-Raid Day for those of us here in Morgantown, West Virginia. So I early voted, so I didn't have to really worry about the timing, and I was able to get to this X-Raid on time. So as we've talked about previously, the current level 5 boss for X-Raids is Deoxys. And the thing is, we're supposed to be seeing other forms of Deoxys, a speed, attack, and a defense, but thus far it's still just been the standard Deoxys. So I'm still holding pretty strong on my about 40 to 50% catch rate for these, but I've been pretty pleased. We've gotten a lot of X-Raid invites. This was actually one of the first ones that I didn't get an invite to, but obviously Heather shared hers with me with the new invite feature, and I got to go, which was excellent. So there are 3 X-Raid eligible gyms for Morgantown where we live, and the best thing you can do with those is to raid at them frequently, and that will increase your chances of getting an X-Raid invite. We've seen people take the level 5 gyms with as few as 6 people, assuming everyone is higher than level 35, but really 9 to 13 is a lot more comfortable and will definitely have you in about half the time allotted for Deoxys. We had enough people at this one that we wanted to set up a private group to go. So if you haven't done a private group, when you have the opportunity to join the X-Raid, rather than just hitting the green battle button, there's some white text underneath that says private group. So the first person in there can create a code or be assigned a code and then share it with people there. So all of these raids are limited to 20 players, as is typical. And if you need to make sure that all of your particular group gets into a raid, setting up a private raid is definitely the way to go. Andy greets us from Iron Horse and Trivia. Andy is a Team Trivia host and does a lot of work in that during the week. So thanks for tuning in, Andy. Glad to see you again. Here I'm still using the standard Deoxys raid, looking for dark movesets and psychic movesets. That's sort of what I've built that group around. I really wish Gengar had more staying power, but he just doesn't have the hit points necessary and the defense to really stand there. But when he's in there, every attack is super effective. And the Muck and Grimers, are the Alolan ones specifically, are doing way better than I thought. They stick around for a long time, and you still get those super effective attacks. As you can see here, we are pretty short into the time, and we've already got Deoxys down to 50%. So definitely this is well within the range. Generally, I like to be at least 2/3 of the way down by half of the time frame, and here you can see that we're clearly meeting that test. So here we have Houndoom and Mr. Mime. Both have dark movesets, which will be super effective. Eventually, once the other versions of Deoxys are released, whenever that is, you might want to build different teams for those different movesets. The attack, the speed, and the defense all have slightly different weaknesses, and if you want to check out the Sylph Road subreddit, they have an excellent graphic that breaks down the best teams that you can build depending on that. As you can see, since this was a private group, people that we raid with often, we got a significant friend bonus, and if you raid with your friends, you actually level up very quickly. So even more so than exchanging gifts. So if you're looking for those XP bonuses, which you definitely should, 100,000 XP for making a friend's level is basically free experience, and once you're in that long, slow grind above level 35, an extra 100,000 XP goes a long way. So here you can see that we're still using the standard strategy of attempting to throw a great or better curveball using a golden raspberry to increase those catch ratios. And that was quick. Oh, hey Evil Footlong, welcome to the channel. I'm Kevin, this is Let's Play Games West Virginia, and we're playing Pokemon Go. Thanks for being in the chat. So this is the third Deoxys that I've caught after at least 6 X-raids. So I'm still hovering around my 50% catch rate. So if you're not sure which X-raid eligible gyms are in your area, there is now a new little banner under the gym logo that will tell you if it's X-raid eligible. So there's going to be level 5 gyms. They're typically going to be in parks or public areas like that. And so while you're going around town wherever you live hitting those gyms, make sure you just stop and make note of which ones are X-raids and hit those as often as you can. We're currently in the middle of a double Stardust period, which is excellent. If you've been playing Pokemon Go for any length of time, you probably know that the rarest resource in the game is Stardust. You need it to trade, you need it to power up your Pokemon, you need it to evolve. It's used in almost every facet of the game, and the only place you can get Stardust pieces, which typically increase your Stardust rate by 50%, are through purchased boxes in the store. Now you can, of course, win those by time spent in gym using in-game currency, or you can convert whatever national currency is local to you into in-game currency and spend money and purchase things that way. So this extra Stardust event is basically an event where it should be catch every Pokemon you can, and you're going to get basically 600 Stardust for a single catch. If you add on to that with streaks and gyms and using star pieces, or you go to something like Community Day, you can really rake in the Stardust fast. This was my first shiny Ponyta. So we had 2 new shinies released this week. We had Ponyta and Cubone. I didn't come away with a Cubone, but Heather did, and I think we see that maybe later in the video. But I totally dig the punk rock pony with the blue flames. I think this shiny Ponyta looks really good. And as typical of most of the shinies in the game, the stats are nothing really to write home about. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to evolve this one. I've seen the evolved form online, and some other friends caught one, and that bright blue punk rock flame mane kind of mellows out into a Golden Girls faded purple gray, which isn't quite as nice to look at. So recently, I reset my 7-day catch streak and Pokestop streaks. They would be on the same day. And this has happened for me for every Shedinja that I have. So what happened in that long pause in the previous screen was my app crashed. So I'm not sure what the deal is. Every time I've had a 7-day research reward and it's been Shedinja, my app has crashed in the middle of that, which is definitely a bummer. And I can't throw Pokeballs, apparently. So one of the weird things about Shedinja, it's actually an evolved form of another Pokemon. And currently the only option to get the other, Nincada, is through research tasks. So again, you can hop on the Sylph Road subreddit and you can see which research tasks produce that opportunity. I haven't seen one yet for the stops that I can frequent in my normal daily travels, but Heather has. So she's at least seen that research, and they are out there. But it's always nice to pair a streak with another catch, and that's definitely a way to get a lot of Stardust and a lot of experience in one go. That's Heather, our Minius 4WV, joining us in the chat. Thanks for hopping in. She reminds me that the Catch 5 bug type is an Incada research. So if while you're out you see the Catch 5 bug type, definitely want to pick that up instead of trashing it away. And speaking of bugs, here is a shiny Caterpie, which was one of the other shinies that was released very, very recently. I was pretty excited to see this one. I actually didn't expect to get it. My shiny luck has typically not been very good, but I had a very lucrative shiny week this week for me. And after kind of spinning him around and checking him out, I decided I wanted to power through all of the evolutions right away. Part of me wanted to keep this cute little yellow Caterpie, but the rest of me just really wanted to see what the rest of it was and to share that with you folks. I think the bright gold Caterpie looks really good. Heather and I are actually re-watching the original Pokemon anime, the Indigo League, and if you've re-watched that anytime recently, you know that Caterpie is a pretty large feature on some of the early episodes, and so it was nice to have that paired with the shiny Caterpie here. And surprisingly enough, the shiny Metapod looks really good. Like really, really good. I don't know if it's this burnt orange color, but I really like this shiny. If I catch another shiny Caterpie, I think I'm just going to evolve it to the Metapod and leave it. It looks really good. Heather also reminds us that you have an opportunity for shiny Caterpie in field research tasks of Evolve to Pidgey. So now, I'm not the only one hunting Pidgey. Maybe Niantic is watching our stream. So here we have shiny Butterfree. This is a female Butterfree, and we talked about, and I haven't seen any confirmation, I wondered if the gender of the Pokemon affected what the shiny looked like, since this one has kind of a pink thing going on, and I haven't seen that anywhere. If anyone else has seen if there is a difference in the shinies, hop in the chat and let us know. So, the new Gen 4 Pokemon. I'm finally finishing out my 3 third-tier evolutions. I got my first Torterra last week, and I finally was able to get Starly all the way to its 3rd form. And that was new for the Pokedex. So here we have, Giardia? No, that's not right. Giratina. Giratina is the non-X-Raid level 5 raid boss currently. Kind of a cross between a pool skimmer bug and maybe some kind of thing a transformer defecated. But these are definitely fun to catch. We've been to a couple of these raids, and I'm still at my solid 50% for level 5, but the Giratina raids are pretty cool. You definitely need a couple of players with you to handle it. It is not soloable as far as I know. If you are level 40 and you have the right team, it is reported that you can duo that, but again, that's probably not too advised. So looking for probably, again, between 6 and 13 players to ensure that you can bring that level 5 and do it successfully. I've basically just been using my Deoxys team for these raids. That type matchup is pretty decent. And you can only build 5 teams at a time, and so, being able to double dip in that respect is pretty good. Also, we have, oh man, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Buizel? Buizel? Is also in the raids now as well, so you can look out for those too. Jason, thanks for the Pidgeys this week. I look forward to that. I can trade you some stuff that you may not have yet, help you fill out your Pokedex. I'm still IV hunting those Pidgeys, so I appreciate everyone who's helping me try to find 100% IV Pidgeys. The Pidgey Patrol is currently entirely above 82% IVs, so it's getting up there, and I do have one lucky Pidgey, and as soon as I can get most of those to 100%, we can really start powering those up, and then maybe that bit will be over after that point. But until then, I'm committed to it. Jason, have you had a chance to participate in many raids? You're kind of a newer player, and the raids are definitely a fun part of the game to get involved in. If you haven't done that yet, you should let us know, and we'll try to hook you up. One of the other shinies that I don't have yet I'm told there is a shiny Alolan Marowak. So the Alolan Marowak is super cool looking, and I was really pleased to get that just a couple weeks ago, and now I found out there's a shiny of that, so I'm going to have to start going to all the Marowak raids again. It's also a good idea for these level 5 raids to have a second team built for that type, which I don't. So if you don't do that, you're probably going to be stuck with the recommended Pokemon, which you've been playing for a while. It's probably a pile of Agrons. The game really favors this Pokemon. Its attacks are pretty slow, and it's kind of a crapshoot. So I know that Heather has actually not healed some of them so that they appear less often in her automated recommended suggestions, but if you have the time and you remember to do so, you probably should create a second dark psychic type team for these raids. Yeah, there are times, Jason, if I don't choose the right team, that I can't solo a level 3 raid either. So that's definitely something that you need other folks for. And especially once it gets to 4 or 5, that definitely needs to be a pretty solid team. Yep, so that added Stardust and XP bonus definitely helps. 20,000 XP for a level 5 raid. When you're looking at, multiple millions to level up once you're above level 35, 36, that slow grind through the levels using judicious use of your lucky eggs is definitely advisable. Hi, I'm Kevin, and I can't throw Pokeballs. I haven't seen, I actually don't get Metagross suggested a whole lot. They're not my higher CP Pokemon. I haven't powered any of them up because I spent all of my candies evolving shiny ones. So eventually that will probably be a problem, but it isn't for me currently. But yeah, some of these Pokemon, it's just back to back to back defense moves and dodges, and I'm impatient. If I waited a little bit more and spent probably 4 times as much time attempting to catch these, I could probably make better use of these special raid balls, but patience is not one of my strong suits. Yeah, so Jason just checked out the shiny Alolan Marowak and says it looks good. I actually haven't seen that yet. I have just heard about it. Let's see if we can fix that real quick. Ooh, that does look super cool. It's bright purple. So the Alolan Marowak has these kind of green flames on a bone quarterstaff going on, and the shiny version, its body, instead of being kind of a dark gunmetal gray, is bright purple. That does look cool. So yeah, if you have a Discord in your area, like our Discord uses several bots that hang out. It's renamed Meowth, but you can get notified when other players report certain raids. So if you want to be notified with a push notification on your phone for every Marowak raid, that's hard to say. You can definitely set that up. So if you should definitely check the Sylph Road again, which we plug heavily, and check and see if there's a Discord in your area. It's a great resource. So here we are down by the waterfront for the beginning of Cyndaquil Community Day. So if you happened to have missed the Charmander Community Day, I was eventually able to get one and catch enough of them to finally evolve a Charizard, but no shinies. And I only have the one, so I've missed that fire starter Pokemon opportunity, and so Cyndaquil gives you that opportunity to pop back in and get a fire starter Pokemon and get a bunch of them quick. So our community days are typically downtown at the waterfront. You can check in for a Sylph Road badge, which is fun. And this was a strange community day, actually. There was a weird mix of Pokemon. I don't know whether it's the changing of the nest system or the general idea of there's going to be a greater variety of Pokemon available. But we saw a bunch of Stantler. I think I caught 7 Stantler for Community Day, and we were joking that for the first 10 minutes it just seemed like a Stantler Community Day. But one of the, a couple of benefits of Community Day, if you haven't been, one, you get out there and see other people and interact with those players. 2, there are increased rewards. So the previous Community Day, eggs hatched 4 times faster. That wasn't true for this one, but you did have increased Stardust catches, double candy, and a few other things that really helped that along. Now that there's the Adventure Sync thing, which has been launched for many phones, I expect we probably won't see as many egg events, since now people are getting credit for those steps that they weren't previously if their phone was off, unless you had a Go Plus device. So that looks like the first Cyndaquil of the day. I've generally had pretty good luck for shinies, but the first part of Community Day was pretty long. I think I probably caught 20 Cyndaquil before I came across my first shiny, and here's one, the Mocha Hot Chocolate Cyndaquil, who's all in shades of brown and tan. Jason says Adventure Sync works fantastically. I actually haven't seen a huge uptick. I may not have all of the proper permissions set on my phone. So if you have not already authorized your phone to access whatever your phone's health or step counting device is, you have to change both of those permissions, whatever your phone's permissions are and the app permissions, to make sure that you get all of the credit for those steps. So I need to check into that, because I don't think I'm getting as much credit for the walking that I'm doing when my phone is off. I have noticed a problem this week, which I didn't realize. So I have a Samsung Galaxy S8, and I noticed that I have a Pokeball burned into my screen in the bottom, like, 1/6 of the screen, right where the main Pokeball is in the Pokemon Go app when you're just on the general map. So I hopped on the internet and found out that the Galaxy S8s are actually having a huge problem with screen burn, and I've used a couple of other apps to try to fluff up those pixels and get them back to working. And it's apparently a warrantyable thing to have certain things burned into the screen. So it's not quite bothering me yet, but if my screen is all white, I can see several artifacts, most of them from Pokemon Go. Now, I don't know if it's because when I'm playing Pokemon Go, I'm usually outside, so I have the screen brightness turned up quite high so that I can see it well in the daylight, but it's kind of a bummer, and there's probably 4 artifacts burnt into the screen. The bottom toolbar, the Pokemon bar, a box in the center, and then I also have this shaded area on top where the menu bar has burnt into my screen. So I'm going to have to look into that. If you have an S8 or an S8 Plus, I've recently learned they are susceptible to screen burn. If you haven't had a screen burn error with Pokemon Go yet, you may want to look into that and change some settings to avoid that in the future. So one of the things that I wish I had done for this Community Day, and I've done them in previous Community Days, I just didn't this past one, was use a bunch of pineapple berries. So I ended up with many fewer candies than I have in previous days, and towards the end of the day, I think I was only able to evolve 4 Typhlosions, whereas if you remember the Metagross day, I think I had 6 maybe, or 7. So definitely, if you can save up those pineapple berries, most of the research tasks were giving pineapple berries and raspberries. Definitely use those for Community Day and make the most use of that time. Here in Morgantown on Saturday, it was cold. We only played for about half as long, which probably contributed. It was 31 degrees. We didn't have any snow, but the wind was pretty fierce for the first half of the time we were out there, and it was pretty darn chilly. Luckily, that wind slacked off, and it actually almost felt comfortable after that. But especially as we get into these winter months, if you're in climates where you're experiencing winter, for these period, definitely keep that in mind for these Community Days. Go inside frequently to warm up and keep yourself safe. We found a Starbucks where I've actually caught a shiny in this Starbucks every Community Day, but we stopped in for a Starbucks to warm up a little bit, have a warm drink, and just take some time to rest a little bit before we went back out in the cold. So definitely keep track of that while you're out there, especially if you're playing with children or anyone else who might be more susceptible to the cold. We're still shiny checking every shelter we come across, looking for that bright orange shelter for Heather. I think she's really looking forward to that. One of the downsides of a dense cluster of spots like this is I have 2 Cyndaquil here that I just can't tap on. There's too many Pokemon that are too close. You can zoom in, flip around, but at some point you just got to catch those guys to clear them off the screen. So I didn't particularly need any of this family of Pokemon. I've got the 3rd stage for both the male and female types, but they're just in the way and I need to get at these tiny fire weasels so that I can level some up. Assuming that is not back-to-back defense moves. But when they do jump into the nice ball, that helps. I think of the 3 evolutionary stages for Cyndaquil's line, I actually like the base one the most. I think it's kind of the cutest. His little sort of squinty eyes are nice. And the other ones I think are kind of uninteresting. But one of the benefits is we have an additional move set that's a special move set just for Community Day. Ooh, there's another Mocha Cyndaquil. So the shiny animation is always a nice clue. Usually the color set is different, but on some of the shinies like Gengar, it's really difficult to tell. But yeah, so this Community Day, the special move is Blast Burn, which is 110 damage, which is pretty decent for a charge move. There's also the possibility of Weather Boost, which can bring that up a little bit. But I'm not sure if we can see this. Here is a shiny Typhlosion, fully evolved, ready to go. So that's kind of the goal for Community Day, is to save up as many Pokemon as you can, get enough candies. Sorry, folks. Enough candies to evolve all the shinies that you catch. There's an increased shiny catch rate. So I ended the day with 4 shiny Cyndaquils and a total of 4 evolved Typhlosions. Those of you in the chat, if you participated in Community Day, what was your final shiny and Typhlosion account for the event? I was 4 and 4 for both. So this is an area that's near the Waterfront Hotel in Morgantown. We often call it the Triple Stop. It is a pretty small cluster of 3 stops, and we've had pretty decent luck there for Community Days. I have found 1 or 2 shinies at this location for every Community Day we've attended in this area. Ah, sorry, Jason, 0 and 0. Here we have some more Gen 4 Pokemon. I'm still saving candies for this guy. I do not have his 3rd stage just quite yet. But hopefully soon. Wiley Scissors says 1 shiny the whole day. Man, that's pretty low for Community Day, but you know, sometimes the random number generator gods giveth, and sometimes they take away. 1 shiny is probably a bummer for a turnout, but I'm sure the next Community Day you'll maybe bet back in the random number generator god's favor, and hopefully you'll have some more. Arminius in here with the clutch, 8 shinies and 6 Typhlosion. That is a bunch. Although you were actually using pineapple berries, which probably made that a little bit easier. I don't think there hasn't been an announcement for the next Community Day as far as I can remember, but we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to, I really enjoy the Community Days. I think it's a really fun part of the game. It wasn't a part of the game when I first started playing. After my hiatus, that's actually one of my favorite things about the game thus far. A Wild Frank appears. This is Frank. You can say hi to the internet, Frank. 6 or more is pretty decent. I don't usually have that many. I think 4 is probably pretty standard for me, but probably the low side for that. Yeah, no new announcements, period. Which is, we've had a crazy news-filled month with multiple news announcements, so it's kind of weird to have a silent period. Another shiny Cyndaquil. One of the things if they changed pretty recently about Community Day is there's now a 1-hour period after the event ends for you to evolve your Pokemon. So you don't have to quit catching early. You can go ahead and wait, catch the entire period if you're available to, and then evolve afterwards, and you will still get the special move. So that's the shiny haul for the day. It was quite a few number of Cyndaquil. I went through afterwards, and I just did a very quick assay, and any Pokemon that is a wonder, so for Team Mystic, that's going to be your highest IV category. Each of the teams is going to have different specific verbiage, but you're probably familiar with it if you've been using the appraise function. So I went through and I starred every single one of the is a wonder, and then I went and used an IV checker, checked those. I like to use PokéGenie since it doesn't really interact with the app. It just looks at screen data plus the data you provide. And there I picked out my highest IV Cyndaquil for evolution for the candidates who would eventually have the highest CP once they're fully powered up. So as we talked about before, the IV system, with the kind of stat revamp, some of the IV checkers don't seem to be as accurate as they have been previously. But it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to if you want the highest combat effective Pokemon. At the end, there is an 8% spread, give or take, for the lowest IVs and the highest IVs. That's probably a good point, Wiley. So Pokemon Let's Go, Eevee, and Pikachu comes out on Friday, and maybe Pokemon Go is laying low this week to allow that hype to build appropriately. We'll be playing again on Friday, so there will be 2 editions of PokéMondays, and also one of those is Poké Friday this week, because we're going to be playing Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu on Friday as well. So you can tune into this channel for that. So here's the pile of Stantler that we came across. I'm not sure why they were an increased spawn. It seems like for Community Day they probably should cut down on the number of non-Community Day Pokemon, but oh well. So once I got my high IV Cyndaquils evolved all the way up to Typhlosion, I wanted to get one of the shinies all the way up. One, I wanted to see it through its stages, and then it's also, just wanted to have one. So here we go for the 3rd stage, a shiny Typhlosion. Yeah, I think of this evolutionary line, I still think Cyndaquil is probably the cutest and probably my favorite, but it's definitely nice to have another high CP and high damage for the special move fire Pokemon. It's always good to pay attention to the types and make sure you have enough to do everything you need to do. So I actually ran out of candies. I actually had to use some rare candies here, and then also spend the last couple moments of the event catching a few to get enough to evolve my last Typhlosion for the day, bringing my total to 4 for the end of the day. I do have a pile of charged TMs and fast TMs, so I probably should go through here and use some of those and get them to a better meta-usable attack set. So if you haven't looked at the search operators for the search function in the Pokemon, if you use a plus before the Pokemon's name or number, you will see every Pokemon in its lineage. instead of just one. It'll also ignore or use, depending on what you want, nicknames if you change the name of the Pokemon. So if you use an @ symbol, it will show you move sets. If you type without one, say dark, it will show you canonical type, where @dark will show you dark moves. A plus will show you everything in that Pokemon's evolutionary chain. So using those operators can make it a little bit easier to interact with the app. Moltres probably is a good DPS counter for the others, so Arminius drops that in. I don't have a whole lot of Moltres. The only ones I got were from the community today, and I actually haven't used them a whole lot in battle, so we'll see how that goes. One of the advantages of the coming Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu is you will be able to transfer some of your Pokemon from Go to Let's Go. Apparently the way that's going to work is you will have certain kind of Pokemon reserves where you can transfer up to 1,000 Pokemon from Go to Let's Go. So if you do that, you can't change them back and you have to recatch them in Let's Go, but you definitely can move some over, except for Mew and maybe one other criteria. Maybe Heather remembers that if I do not. So here we're in the last few minutes of community today. I'm trying to get all of the candies I can for this so that I can make the best of those evolutions. I actually didn't save enough to power them up very much, so I'm going to have to save those up through regular catches, and as soon as that happens, I can start powering up the highest IV. So my highest IV Typhlosion was a 93% Typhlosion at 2207 CP. That was the top one for the day for me. Oh, actually that's a lie. I have one that's 96, but it's lower max CP. It's the Go Park. That's the system in Let's Go for transferring your Pokemon from the mobile game Pokemon Go to the console game Let's Go. Pikas with hats, Squirtles with glasses, and Mew cannot be transferred over. So if you want to start saving some of your Gen 1 Pokemon, you can transfer up to 1,000. So especially pay attention to which Gen 1 Pokemon are not present in your version, Eevee or Pikachu, and maybe get a pile of those ready to transfer them over to your park so you can finish out your Pokedex in the game. And I think this is probably the last Cyndaquil of the day. So that's the final count after I had transferred back all of the other ones. Those were the ones that were left the highest IVs. So this is some of Heather's footage from the week. So here it looks like she got a new evolution for Riolu. This is available through, I think, eggs and researches. I haven't seen this at all yet. So this is not a Pokemon I have caught. It's kind of a Anubis-looking evolution. And that was a new one for you. Congrats on helping to fill out your Pokedex there. Lucario. That's a pretty decent charge move. Only eggs. So the only way to get Riolu is through eggs. So Pokemon was letting us know via Twitter for the Stardust events and other things happening this weekend. If you turn on in your settings, you can turn on emails, or you can follow them on any of their social media, or look at the in-game news notifications. But there's lots of ways to get news about Pokemon, as well as channels like this one and others on the internet. So here Heather is using her daily raid pass to get ready for a Sableye raid. Probably still shiny hunting here. Apparently we'll do a jump cut to shiny Cyndaquil. That's probably my fault. Some of the video editing issues we've had in the past weeks continue to rear their heads. So Mathlete says they think they've encountered a glitch. They're level 33, so their Pokemon max should be 34 and a half, but caught a level 35 Lunatone. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I don't think I would bring that to anyone's attention, though, at Niantic. I would just hang on to that level 35 Lunatone. The only Lunatone I've ever seen I actually got through a trade, and I have not seen one in the wild at all. But Arminius had a very decent week for Lunatones. Did you say you caught 3 or 4 in the last 2 weeks? I think Pokemon Go players asking and complaining about glitches is the second official pastime for like things about Pokemon. So the app can be pretty glitchy. Usually during Community Day, I have to force close probably 2 or 3 times. The first time for last Community Day, it was maybe 7 minutes into it, and that's just, part of the deal. Yeah, I have that same problem, Mathlete, where it's just back-to-back defense moves or dodges, and yeah, it seems. I suppose you could use a banana there, but I'm always trying to use the golden raspberry to increase the catch rate. But yeah, the level 5 raid bosses are definitely feisty. No, it should just be low. The game audio should be lower than my spoken audio, but it should all be there. Ah, yeah, good call. Thanks for joining us in the chat, Mathlete. For everyone else who's hopped in, if this is your first stream for PokéMondays, thanks for tuning in. It's always nice to have folks in the chat. It makes the stream go a little bit smoother. So if your mic was off, you probably missed the answers to your question. I don't know much about the bug, but I definitely have the same issue with back-to-back defense moves for level 5 raid bosses. It's been pretty intense the past few weeks. Being able to throw great or better curveball, that's a skill one can practice, and it definitely will increase your catch rate, especially if you're using berries like a golden raspberry or a silver pineapple to increase your chances there. But being able to throw those curveballs is definitely something that one can practice. I've seen some of the other groups apparently have excellent curveball competitions, which is probably a good way to bring up that skill. The phone you're using also makes a huge difference. I find that Heather's phone, it is much easier to throw. The phone is a little bit smaller. And I think that the size of the phone and the smoothness of the screen is such that it's much easier to throw those curveballs than on my phone. Yeah, I'm trying to save up for Curly as well, and you definitely want to save a male and female type so that when the, because Gardevoir is currently the only one that you can evolve, but we know that there is another evolution coming, so definitely pay attention to the sex of those Pokemon, maybe mark it using the Mars and Venus symbol to keep track, so that once you can evolve that Kirlia, you can get both of the final forms. Yeah, screen friction is definitely a problem as well. So Heather's phone is actually in a life-proof case, and it seems to be a bit smoother even throughout the day. I don't have anything over the screen on my phone, and sometimes it seems to have a higher friction coefficient. So it looks like we're looking at the end of Heather's Community Day footage, evolving a shiny Typhlosion. Got to make sure that we get enough fire weasels for Community Day. That's a pretty decent catch for the end of the day, Heather. They haven't yet announced the next Community Day as far as I know, so that is not known. They've been pretty quiet on the news, probably as we had mentioned earlier in the chat, probably to give Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee some hype time, but the next Community Day has not been announced. I actually hadn't played in the winter before, so this was the first time I got to see the sort of white weather effect for the snow. I hope that your phone doesn't summon blizzards, but it was definitely cool to see the weather change. Nope, I just completed Gen 1 like a week or two ago, so it just depends on what you can see. Definitely the 7K egg event probably helped lots of folks out. Hitmonlee, we found those mostly through, I think, raids is how I acquired those. But yep, definitely everyone has to kind of play at their own pace. There's no problem there with not being finished with either gen yet. I just recently completed Gen 1. I think Heather's been finished for quite some time. But that's just kind of how it goes, you know, what you see and what's available to you. If it's possible, you can probably trade for the Hitmonlee if there's players in your area who are amicable to that sort of thing. And yeah, and maybe you'll get the lower evolved form and have better luck evolving that. Thanks everyone for tuning in to PokéMonday. This is Let's Play Games West Virginia. I'm Kevin. We're going to have a special episode of LPGWV for Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee on Friday. We haven't totally squared away that time yet, but please check back on Friday. If you can go ahead and give us a follow, you can get that notification for when we come back. I want to thank everyone for being in the chat. If this is your first time tuning into a Let's Play Games West Virginia stream, we're a collection of gamers here in West Virginia, and we play a wide variety of games until Wednesday, in which we'll probably almost solely play Fallout 76 for a while. But we have something going on every day of the week. So we have a team of streamers. We have Andy streams generally on Tuesdays and Fridays. Katie plays generally survival horror type games on Wednesday. We have a Hearthstone series by SMP on Thursday. We've got retro games with Jgro Saturday, and then Sunday is probably going to have a program change coming up here. It's typically been text adventures and interactive fiction, but LPGWV Snarf is going to start streaming on Sundays pretty soon. So stay tuned for that program change, and we look forward to seeing you guys. Again, please join us back on Friday for our first look at Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. That should be a lot of fun. Heather's going to join us for that. And thanks everyone for tuning in.